to Say Word Couch Conversations. I'm your host, Artistic Genius. I am here with my guy, the poet, the man, the myth, Marmi the Griot. Yeah, I'm here with my guest, Marmi the Griot. So tell them about yourself a little bit. We're going to get into these questions, like what do you do, like where you from, just a little brief background about yourself.
Sure. I'm just happy to be here with you.
Yeah.
I'm Marmi the Griot. I am Columbus born and raised. I am a scholar, artist. I just do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I'm a wordsmith at heart. I'm a writer, so it takes on a lot of forms.
And I appreciate that. Marmi is one of our biggest supporters. Like, he's always coming to Say Word. He's always helping out. He's a part of the team. So I really appreciate him, his craft, and everything. So I'm excited to sit down and have this interview with you. So, and I don't know a whole lot about your background, so it's gonna be good to get to know you. So yeah, I just got some questions for you. We're gonna dive into it. So we talk about like poetry and personal things. So we're gonna get into both here.
Okay.
And maybe he might hit us with a little 30-second little, we got a show tonight, so I know he's performing. So we're gonna see what that's like. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So can you just tell me, like, how long have you been like writing poetry, and like how did that come about? Have you always been doing it, or is it something that you kind of just like stumbled upon?
I think I've always been a writer. So like I've been writing books. I've been writing. I'm raised in church. I'm a church boy. I'm a church boy. Okay. So I was actually raised to be a pastor. And I was a pastor for a little while. I was a pastor for about 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And so like I've been writing sermons, writing books, writing journal, and then I got into I'm a trained theologian, so I'm a scholar.
Okay.
And so like I write journal articles as well. And I think what brought me to poetry was all that stuff is so academic. Mm. And I needed an outlet. So poetry is my outlet. It's like the thing I love. Okay. It's where I have fun at. The other stuff is more like work and labor.
Yeah, you got a preacher voice. Right? And then you also incorporate that in your poetry a little bit, like, just like how a preacher would say certain things in your poem. And I love that because it's so authentic to who you are. Right. And it's not like you out here trying to be like anybody else or have a certain sound as a poet. Like, you just completely are yourself. So I definitely love that about you.
Yeah, actually, like when I first started writing poetry, I was writing this book, and it'll come out, but it won't be my first book of poetry. Right?
Okay.
But it was going to be called Good Sex, Black Religion, and Other Drugs.
Ooh.
And it was just dealing with coping mechanisms and ways in which, like black people cope, and, food, whether it be food, sexuality, any other things like that. Okay. Because by trade, I'm a hospital chaplain. So like, I work at the James Cancer Hospital.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah,
so this is like, okay.
Yeah. So like when I left the church, I went into chaplaincy.
Oh, wow.
And I work at the James Cancer Hospital. Wow. And I think the art allows me to take that really heavy stuff and put it someplace.
Yeah, because that's heavy. Heavy. I've had experience, like I have family member, my sister passed away from cancer, so I appreciate what you do. Wow. Because we did have a chaplain come in and do the whole ordeal with us as well. So that's a big purpose-filled job, but I'm sure you need somewhere to put that that energy after the fact, because you don't want it to weigh on you. Yeah, that's crazy. I did not know that. So I'm learning just like y'all. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's good stuff. My next question is, if you could write a poem to your younger self, what would you title it?
Okay. If I could write a poem to my younger self, I think it would be a poem about being authentic. About being your authentic self. Because I think I grew up in a fight or flight situation. So like trying to appease everybody has been a thing for me up until this point. Okay. Now I'm living my loudest.
Okay, so you were in like kind of survival mode.
Yeah.
Okay, I can relate to that for sure. And I think a lot of my poetry kind of go back to that too. So, yeah.
And I was a golden child too. So like that comes with its own kind of pressure.
What do you mean by golden child?
Like you know how like when you like, one, I'm raised in church, right? And then like I'm my family's favorite kid.
You the youngest?
I am the youngest.
Okay, usually it works that way.
I'm the youngest. Like I'm my family's favorite kid, and then I was a golden child at church. Like so, like yeah, I was just a golden child, and that comes with its own kind of like perfectionism and just kind of different things that until this point I'm starting to unlearn. And I think poetry is messy in that way, to where you can be your messiest, fullest self.
Yeah, and it turns out beautiful.
Yeah,
and you can be in spaces like say Word and other spaces in Columbus or wherever, and actually like present that mess, and it doesn't look ugly to other people that that understand that. So that's
because at our core we live in this like. I think that's most of the things are up in the air. Like I work with cancer patients, so most of the things are up in the air, and I think that's where poetry allows us to live in a space where we don't have to know all the answers. We ain't right or wrong. We just are. Like.
Listen, come on, let's go to preach it. Amen. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Yeah. I love that about you. So, what are some poets or artists that have inspired you to either to write, to be who you are, to live out loud, to just be who you are? Like, where's your inspiration come from?
I'm glad you asked me that question. I was like, one, I gotta say, like, there are a lot of poets in our city that I can just like. I may like you, for example. We don't talk every day, but I just connect with you, and when I'm writing, you at my table. When I'm I'm thinking about who's gonna be in the room. So there's that element, but I'm also like a '90s, '80s hip hop kid. So like, and I love the storyteller genre. If you see my art, it's a lot of it's stories because I love stories.
Yeah. You're a great storyteller, by the way. Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that because that connects all the things. It's like Bible's full of stories. I'm a chaplain in a hospital where I'm listening to people's stories all day. I'm writing my own story every day. So I think I really connect to the stories. But to get back to your question, like I say Black Thought is one. I was thinking about my favorite storytelling songs. Black Thought has one. And then Scarface is a top rapper for me. That's why I wear this hat sometimes, like because that's how they showed up. And as a kid who wasn't, my family's rough and they come from stuff, but that's not what I come from. So I could see myself more in that like neo soul kind of like
that poetry jam.
Right. Yeah. So it was a thing where I could like actually. Where my representation was. So I say Black Thought, I say Scarface, and I say DMX.
Okay. Now, would you say that, them being your inspiration, like, who would you say would be like an artist or somebody who challenged your work the most?
Okay. I think my work as a scholar does that the most because I identify with womanism, which is just a brand of thinking. It's adjacent to feminism, but it's for Black women. And basically what it does is critiques patriarchy and critiques structural violence and cultural violence.
Right.
So I think that helps me. I remember one person interviewing me and they were saying like, your story sounds so balanced. And I think that's what makes me balanced still is I never want to paint a Black woman in a bad way while having negative experiences with Black women.
Come on. Yeah. That's deep. That's deep because you could, and poets can be so lethal sometimes, but to be able to like take that and hone that in and be like, even if I had this bad experience, like I still want to like make Black women appear beautiful because we are like despite like, experiences,
and dynamic. Like I think in our culture it's a thing like Black people have to be so perfect in order to be safe, and I think in our art we can make people complex. They don't have to. We both got angels and demons on our shoulders, so
yeah, for sure.
So and that's a part of our complexity, and that complexity needs to be able to live and breathe without it being a target.
You talking today, boy. You came to preach today. I love that, man. Like I love the way your mind works. Like your brain is just very, very like I look at it as like it's a very intricate and like we said complex type of thing. But it's just I don't know. I feel like when you're talking sometimes like I'm traveling through like some form of like maze and just like it's a journey,
It's that I had a professor tell me, she's like, your voice is so unique because I'm a trained scholar.
Yeah,
I can speak to the streets.
Yeah,
I'm raised in the church.
Yeah,
and I'm an artist creative. So like just bringing all that together.
Right. Yeah, that's dope. Fire. So speaking about your writing, like what does your process look like? Because I know everybody's process is different. Some people freestyle their poetry, like some people write it down, some people get a thought and they come back to it later. So like, what does your process look like?
You know, a lot of times, like I'm an overthinker by just one of my trauma responses. I'm an overthinker. So a lot of times I'm agonizing over something, and I just have to make some clarity of it. So like I'll sit down, and a lot of times it'll come right out of a relationship, or like
Usually,
some type of relational interaction.
Yeah.
That's just where I am now.
Yes.
Like I'm writing a lot of poems about. That's actually my forthcoming my book that is coming out. My poetry book is going to be called Poems I Wrote While We Failed at Love.
I can't wait to read that.
And they're really about, you know, just the ways I failed at relationships, or the ways I've been on the reciprocal side of failing at relationship, and the way we as a society are failing at relationship.
Yeah, that's good. Listen, if y'all don't get these nuggets, get these nuggets, because you definitely dropping gems today. And I feel like this is gonna be one of them interviews that I definitely look back at, you know, just for my own self, because I think it challenges me as an artist and a scholar as well. Like being able to like actually get like the educated side of it, because I think that sometimes I kind of like lack, like, you know, maybe I don't read enough, you know, to get that, and you need to come back to that reading in order to write some great pieces too. So yeah,
I always say I'm a reader first.
Right.
So like I'm definitely a reader first. Like,
yeah.
That's why you see me, I'll be posting a lot of local people's books, because I'm reading y'all books.
Yeah.
Like, if I love you and I like you, I'm buying your book, I'm gonna read it, we're gonna talk about it, like, because that's a piece of you.
Yeah, and that's an intentional thing too. So I would say, yeah, I feel like reading helps you write better poetry, and because it opens your mind a lot. You know, if I'm only writing like based on like just my own experiences, it kind of gets like flatline a little bit. Not that the work is not good, but it's like, okay, we need more depth.
It broadens.
Yeah. Yeah, good. Okay. So, how do you want your art or poetry to be perceived by other people? Or do you want it to be perceived? Or are you like in this element of just like, however you take it, you take it?
I'm hoping to fill gaps. Like, so like, I'm hoping to have like aha moments, while also there's a certain part of me that's just an entertainer too. Like, and I think a lot of the things I do in poetry I couldn't do as a pastor.
Yes.
So I really enjoy this space, because it allows me to stretch out a little bit. Like, it's kind of sleazy to be a entertaining. Now, while I think black preaching is performance art.
Yeah.
In a way, it taught me how to stand before audiences. It's taught me how to address audience. It taught me how to write. It taught me how to speak. But I think there's just certain things that I can't do in that space that I can do in this space. Like.
Now, I'm glad you touched on that, because I have a question. Like, how, and this is off topic.
Okay.
But how, like, with that being, you know, a part of your life, like preaching and Christianity, how has that been a controversial thing for you to be talking about certain things in your poetry, and then maybe you might preach on, you know, go preach somewhere, and like, has that been like a conflict at all?
It maybe an internal conflict, but not necessarily external.
Okay.
Like, because I think I'm an expressionist, so like I found this term expressionist a long time ago, and it just resonates with me. Like, I'm the type of person where I gotta get it out.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a sermon, sometimes it's a poem, sometimes it's a song, it's a rap, sometimes it's a mural, sometimes it's a painting.
Period.
You know, sometimes it's a dish in my kitchen. Like, you know, like, you know, so I'm that way. And I think also, like, it's my desire to marry all the parts of me. So I think, yeah, like, so when I bring, and I think it brought together most fully when I was doing spiritual care for inmates, and I was incorporating my art into that. I saw that they could live and breathe together. And that's actually what brings me like so full in my art in this season is, I'll share this, I think this is important. A couple years ago, I had a major depressive episode, and I was hospitalized, and it was right after I left my church. And it was like, I was in a place where, kind of a wilderness, just didn't know what I was gonna do, what I was gonna be. And I think as I began to do like therapy, and you know, I did clinical pastoral education, which is a therapeutic thing. And as I started to do more of that, like, I started to realize that the art was missing from my life. And the art was the reason that maybe I was depressed.
Listen.
So like that's why like I'm happy to bring I'm living my truest artist self. Like my kids think I'm so cool because they like you always going someplace, you always doing something. Like
that is dope.
Because I'm living that fully now. Like I think I was trained to be one thing, raised to be in one thing, but I was born an artist.
And when you don't do that was something so powerful you said, because when you don't do it, you feel so disconnected from yourself.
Absolutely.
Like, when I'm just like hustle bustle, I'm trying to get money or doing whatever, and I don't have the time to paint, to write. Like I also feel that depression because it's like I just feel so far away from myself, and I need to get back to that. So like that, I think a lot of artists experience that because you're born to be an artist, so it's like that's who you truly are. It's like you can never just like not do that. Right. I don't care how long you take off from poetry, painting, whatever it is that you're doing, is gonna keep calling you back.
Right,
God's gonna keep calling, like, all right, you ready yet? I'm just knocking to see if you ready. You know, so I've been through a series of times like that, and sometimes it's needed to isolate and to like, you know, spend that time with God, spend that time with yourself to be able to like pour back out, you know, because sometimes it also gets tiring to continue to pour and you may not feel back up.
And that was one of the things that like you mentioned what I want my art to give people, and I wanted to be able to promote wellness, promote being your authentic self, because I think sometimes we're trying to put on for so many people that we're damaging our own souls. And so like I think I want my art to do that for people, or at least encourage that in people.
Yeah, I don't think it does that. I think every time you get on that stage, every time you touch a mic, it's just like, wow. And for you to have just started like doing poetry, blew my mind. When I first seen you perform, I'm like, yeah, you've been doing this for a while. So like, I get a lot of joy like when I see you perform, like the last show that I see you feature at, just to see your growth, even though you were already like amazing when you started. It's just like, damn, like this dude, he really gonna take this places. So I hope that you continue to like explore what that looks like on a bigger platform, and you know, travel and things like that, because you got it. Some people just have it, and you definitely have it.
I hope that's the case.
It will be. I really believe that, honestly, and I think you should definitely go out and meet different people, go to different states, and just show up and just, you know, give yourself in that way, because I think that you'll find it to be very, very rewarding.
Okay. Yeah. Appreciate that affirmation.
Yeah, for sure.
You know you're my poet pastor,
so
you can speak to me anytime.
The moment I be speaking, I can't go into church with them.
But we got church to say word.
No,
say word to church.
We definitely kindred spirits. I feel your spirit. I think we're very connected. I think some people are just connected in that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely very appreciative of our connection.
Me too.
I got a couple more questions. So, what are some of your goals with poetry? That just goes back to what we just talked about. Well, like, how far do you want to take it?
Yeah, I think, like I said, I want to. I don't know. I envision a space where I can bring all the things that I am together in service of other people, and it'll be an art space. It'll be a spirituality space. It'll be a wellness space. And I was talking to you earlier about I'm writing a dissertation right now, and it's really about how do we use critical artist interventions for the care of people, specifically Black men, because I think when we care for Black men, we care for Black women by nature of the relationship and how much they care for us, right? Or y'all care for us, right? Like, so it's like it's just I hope to take it to the people. Take it to the people.
I see that. So let me know if you need my help. What I need to do? Where I need to step in at? Because you got my full support for sure.
I appreciate that. You know you got my full support.
Yeah, I already know. If I need you to pour some wine, I already know you're coming through. And I appreciate that, because that is hard to find. But I think that with what we've created here, it's not as hard as I thought it was going to be coming to Columbus. So,
but like I said, like I told you in private, I just want you to succeed. You know, some people you meet, you want them to win, and you just are willing to do whatever you got to do to help them win.
And I appreciate it. And that's God sent. That's God sent for sure. I don't know where you came from, but I appreciate it. So talk about just like briefly like some obstacles that you feel like you've had to face like along your journey. Like you talked a little bit about being hospitalized, but is there anything else like along your journey that you feel like, you know, made you want to give up or quit doing artistry?
Okay. Um, I think when the things that made me not do art were just being so focused on, like you said, the grind.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there are obstacles. I think I run to art when I'm in an obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
I think I just got to a place where, you know, I mean, art is agony for me. So it's like, I mean, art is agony, but it's also relief from agony.
Yes.
So it's like I run to it in agony and I come out of agony through it. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if anything makes me not want to do art other than feeling like I got so much of the corporate stuff or the adult stuff. Like I'm a single father. I'm a single father of 2 kids.
Okay.
Like, so, you know, they're just, time is always a thing for me. It's like, you know, but I can always turn to that again, that womanish tradition where, you know, great black women artists who didn't have time at all created great art. So, you know, I wrote a post a couple, you know, after the election, and my body just wasn't feeling good. But I started thinking about those great black artists who were black women who just kind of rolled over on their side and wrote what they needed to write. And so that's what I did.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Listen, we appreciate you for sure. So this is my last question, and then we gonna make sure they can find you on social media and keep it with you and follow you. If you could say a word to an aspiring poet or artist, or give some type of advice, what would that be?
Okay. I think the advice I would give is do art for art's sake, and not for the people, not for the crowd, not for a name, but do art for art's sake. Because there's just a certain freedom in being an artist. Like I used to think the black pastor was the freest person in the world, but now I think the black artist is the freest person in the world.
Okay. Yeah, that's dope. Y'all heard the man. Listen, you got anything else you want to add?
Well, I just want to say, because a lot of people don't know this, my name is Marmi the Griot, and a griot is a West African storyteller. A lot of people don't know that, and that's why like a lot of my art comes through the form of story, a form of narration, you know, but a griot is also a person who's an inspired person, and who kind of is a culture carrier and a culture critiquer. So those are just the things I'm trying to do are in my name. So when you hear my name, know what I'm about.
Yeah, you heard him. You heard him. Listen, that is our interview. That is our Say Word Couch Conversation, episode 2 with Marmi the Griot. Make sure y'all follow him on social media, which are
Marmi the Griot. That's MARMI the THEGRIOT on Instagram. If you want to follow my spirituality stuff, you can follow me at Jamar Turner on Facebook. But if you might follow my poetry stuff, it's Marmi the Griot.
Yeah, keep up with him and make sure y'all get a look out for the book that's coming, the wellness center that's coming, everything that he has planned. Like, keep up with him. Make sure you guys follow Say Word Wednesdays on Instagram. If you're not following us, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can watch episode 2 that is also at Say Word Wednesday. Peace out. Say Word!